Welcome to the scene
757 coming
All
at you.
right. We'll be right back.
What was that? That was a catchy little groove there. What was that? That little catchy. What was that?
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. It was a song I wrote. I'm sorry.
You wrote it?
I wrote it, played all the instruments. Yeah, I got
When did you write it?
4 years ago.
Okay. What's it called?
Well, Spanish
like
Moon.
Moon.
You could, yeah, Spanish
Moonlight
Moon. You
by
can
the
find it on
Spanish.
all the digital streaming outlets if you want to put yourself to sleep. But that's not why we're here, folks.
That's not why we're here.
Very special show today.
Yes.
We're going to talk actually in detail about the second year anniversary of the tragic passing of musician Derek Moore, who is very well known and very well loved in this community by a lot of people. The family is here. Also, we got friends here. And of course, Dylan, his brother, is here to be on the show. And we're just going to do, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about musicians and mental health and how it affects us all.
Yeah.
But yet musicians at a different level, I feel sometimes, just because of the sensitivity of our trade and our craft and what it means to us. So,
yes.
So
this is going to be a healing type of show. We're not going to get into specifics of anything. We are just going to talk about it with his brother. And we also have a licensed counselor who's going to bring the subject up and talk about it. And we just want to bring it back into awareness and the music community.
And we're also going to talk about Dylan's journey in this as well, his healing and how far he's come. And that's also a very important part of the story, I think, as well.
That's right.
And continue to be a important part of the story.
That's right. And so also to let you know, we probably aren't going to answer any comments today like we usually do in interacting with you because we just want to talk to Dylan and really just talk about his journey.
Find out more about Derek and how he started, the roots of where he started. I didn't get to know Derek until later in life. And I'll go into that in just a minute. But there's so many people out there, guys and gals, who were big influences on him musically. And we'll get into that in just a minute. And we'll share stories with Dylan about the different guys who influenced Derek and also how he kind of came up to the ranks in the music scene around here.
Right. Okay. So do we want to bring...
Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen.
It's on.
Hey, there he is. Oh, man. Thank you, brother. Oh, good to see you. Yeah. Have a seat. Yeah, like I said, I want to thank you and also, of course, your mother, Aunt Bobby, and also, Pawpaw. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. And friends and family for coming out and supporting. And most of all, thank you.
No, I'm glad you asked. It's been a rough month, but I'm glad I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be anywhere else. Especially when you asked me to come.
See what I'm talking about? That's what friends are for. So.
Yeah.
No, we it's funny because I tell people I've lived here in Shadowlawn 5 years, and my Derek story was I first met him walking down this hallway, and I happened to go past Pizza Chapel.
Yep.
And I heard this sound, this beautiful, full reggae sound of this man singing. I looked in the door and I'm like, who is? Why don't I know who this guy is? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? And then at that point, I found out. Of course, I walked in and introduced myself, and kind of started following him around, and just this is before I knew his involvement with Wings of Lymphoma, which of course I was and still am involved in, and then of course getting to know Derek on a personal level and seeing what his accomplishments and who influenced him and finding more about his history in this area. So take us to his humble beginnings, if you will. With let's tell the people and myself things we don't know as far as like what age was he when he picked up the guitar, what inspired him, that kind of thing.
So actually, I think it was his first song he ever played, he had to do it when he got lessons. He was still in high school, and it was Hotel California is what he did. So that's the
let's just go to the
yeah. So that's actually his first
Wow.
song he learned, played, and had to perform where my grandfather sent him. But after that, he was still in high school, still in band. He left. He went to ODU after he graduated. So he really didn't touch the guitar until maybe 2010, 2012. He graduated in 08. So he took some time off. But you know, Brittany, that's the mother of his 3 children, we'd hear him singing in the song, and I think in the shower, I think she kind of pushed him to like, "Oh, you got a voice." So then he picked up the guitar again. Our cousin Maddie actually gave him a Fender, and it, acoustic, but it can switch over to electric. A lot of y'all have probably seen him play it, but it was given from a family member. And I used to work at UPS. I'd wake up 3 a.m. to go to work, but he'd be on the computer looking up chords and verses and everything like that, and started teaching himself.
Wow.
And
personally driven. He was driven. There was a drive to do this.
Wow.
So
He loved it. He what really caught his eye around here is Jesse Chong. Like, and even after he passed, even after he passed, I talked to Jesse and told him, like, my brother looked up to you, and he was gracious, wonderful guy, and said, actually, I looked up to him, and my brother thought the world of him. So once he saw everything he was doing, kind of get more motivated to be that in the city like he was. And just like Jesse Chong is and how my brother was, it wasn't just about the music, it was about the scene and the people that come with it.
And of course, Jesse's one of those guys who can stand on his own as a one-man acoustic guy, looper. And of course, he used the hand sonic, which Derek was, in my mind, one of those guys who he did things on the hand sonic that made you think, obviously, there was a real drummer in the house.
Yeah.
He did so much creativity that was coming through here through his sound.
Yeah.
And that was another thing I wanted to say about his sound. I think as a musician, we personally are always trying to we're very critical of how we sound and how we want to come across. Derek's sound was big, and it was large, and it was hard to believe that this was a guy with either an acoustic or an electric guitar. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his PA setup, along with everything else that he dialed in through trial and error, from being around different influences and people. And just working on his craft.
Definitely that. And then kind of when he was first getting into it, and he started having his, Isla, his first child, and we were staying at my grandparents'. I mean, my room was right on top of where he would practice. He'd be out all night, shut the doors off, everything. From when he first got the hand sonic, learned, taught himself, programmed it, everything. Watched some tutorials, do it himself. And he was very critical in the sound. I remember there was a few times I sat down there with him if I got off work at 3, 4 in the morning, or if I was going into work then, that I'd sit down there and we'd work on songs. He'd be like, let's try this. We tried so many things. Like, there's still a bunch of stuff on his computer that probably no one's heard.
Wow.
Yeah. Nah, he we started just, especially when COVID happened, we just started doing a lot of stuff. That's when he really blew up in the solo. But he did start off with Strange Roots.
The Roots. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, that's a lot of talent in the Roots. Man.
Yeah. So over the years, probably 15 different people, different parts. There's so many stories to that. There'd probably need a whole podcast just on
the Strange Roots. So,
right.
But yeah, everyone that came through and all that were like family, all love. Started with one of our childhood friends, Shiloh. Definitely great guy. Uncle owns
Soul Haven, Mickey.
Soul Haven, yeah. That's where the first album was recorded at. The first Strange Roots album was done there. But a lot of friends, and then through that, I've met so many great musicians that even some just wanted to try out for them or did a few shows with them if you needed someone to fill in. But the last group of guys, nothing against all the guys through the time, the last group of guys, Iratio, drummer Jay, Julian Hayes, Baba, Kurt on the front percussion. I mean, those guys were amazing. They still are. They're still family. They still check in. It's a great feeling that, it's been 2 years, but to me, like, the feeling that's still all yesterday. But I mean, I love those guys. They'll always be family. Strange Roots will always be a big part of my family's life.
So I have a question. Do you play anything?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay.
So my grandfather, extremely smart. He could probably read something, never forget it. Derek could hear something or learn it and do it. I'm hands-on. If it's a tool or anything like that, I've done electrical, plumbing, and sanitation on boats and yachts around the area. I mean, electricity, any of it, helped my neighbor build his houses. My hands I got muscle memory. Derek had a memory that was crazy. He knew too many songs, wrote songs, all that, and could do it every night without looking it up or even thinking about it.
That's amazing.
We had people come to shows, ask for a song. He would literally read on the break, read the lyrics, hear the song, and then could perform it.
Wow.
You talk about an ear.
Yeah.
That's an ear.
Yeah.
You know, that's something, you know, to work in music is one thing, to have an ear is a gift, right?
I did see him one time. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was at. He was just playing. I was like, "Who?"
And I'm not even good at singing along with the radio, so I'm gonna leave that. I left that to him.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's funny you mentioned Julian. Who I've kind of friended over the years, the bass player, and
great musician.
We talked at the funeral, and he was like, "Yeah, this is going to be a tough one." You know, it's like all of the Roots family. There's some shows out there, by the way, on YouTube. I want to mention one of them. I think is it Live at the Canal Street. There's a couple live shows from Strange Roots that, if you guys haven't seen them, just go to YouTube, watch these live shows that were recorded. These are documentations of a moment that were just fire. And I say that one of the coolest things about watching, it wasn't just, oh, it's reggae music, reggae. No, they did shows in which they took the music and they would segue the music with hardly anybody. They would take pieces of Al Green and put it between reggae songs. And unless you knew who Al Green was, you didn't know. But if you didn't, you know what I'm saying?
If you were a musician's musician, you knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and that was another thing that attracted me about Derek, is I could tell he was not just a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Musically speaking, his diversity, and that was like, I heard him do Isaac Brothers covers. I heard him do Kenny Wayne Shepherd covers. I heard him do, anything he wanted to. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So.
And tell me about your shirt here.
Oh, the One Love. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Go into the One Love here.
Yeah. This is so Sarah and Angela, they made these right after he had passed, and donated all the money to the girls, his 3 daughters, for later in life. But yeah, we got one of them singing, him with his 3 beautiful daughters in the middle, and he also
there we go.
Yeah, there we go. And he also was an instructor at VB Surf right here, and helped kids learn how to surf. That was his second love.
I was gonna say.
Well, actually, I'd say third. So family first love, got the music, but then surfing. I mean, he's been surfing longer than he was a musician.
I was going to say, let's listen, and also his brother Trey is an active swimmer.
Yep, swimmer. He's actually away at college right now for bowling scholarship. So don't bet your money on him. He'll take it. If you think you can bowl, go try him.
Derek loved the ocean, and there's some great photos out there, and
definitely
great stuff of him.
They keep him alive at VB Surf. They talk about him, pictures of him. The whole VB Surf
shout
family.
out VB Surf. Shout out.
And also shout out Chicho's and Matt Potter.
Chicho's 29.
Every Chicho's has a picture of my brother, which is a beautiful thing. 2 years later, and they're still showing the love. And Potter's a great guy for everything he does.
Indeed. That's a great. That's Chicho's has been. I mean, I used to, when I was young, get drunk on the strip and then steal the pizza off the ledge. So I'd run by and grab. Sorry, Matt. But before you owned it. No, but that was bad. Yeah, I had a bad past, but no, it's a brand name that's been around since 1968, and it's one of those
amazing
brands, and they support their live music venue. They support live music, most importantly.
Music, definitely.
And Derek felt like 29 was like a home. I mean,
we called it home base.
There we go.
Still home base.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you had a little get together
yesterday. We probably had 60 to 70 people show out on the second anniversary of. And we're gonna do it every year. At 29th Street, brings a lot. Like we played some of his music live that no one had heard. Isla got up there and sung. She wanted to do a little karaoke, just like your dad on the mic. Definitely shed a few tears.
Right.
But it was a beautiful thing. I'm glad that Brittany could be there with the girls, and I'm glad.
Thank you, Brittany.
The city, the whole city. They always, when we do stuff like that, they always come together.
Is there still a memorial fund for the girls?
I'm pretty sure there is, and if I do, I will tag it at the bottom because that's something my mother would know, not me.
By the way, I did also, the beauty of if there's a beautiful thing, I became closer with the family over the years through.
Oh, you want to tell the story of when I met you?
Go ahead.
So it's actually funny. She chose 29th Street. I was probably like 4 days after he passed, just sitting there, kind of wanted to be, when you want to be alone, but you don't want to be alone. I was there alone, and here comes Didn't even know the guy. I'm thinking it's just someone else that just wants to talk to me about Derek. But he came with a beautiful story of loving my brother's music, was a fan of it, and
And
told
he
me the
didn't know I
story.
played guitar, by the way.
No, I didn't even know none of that. That how he
Yeah.
had seen him a few weeks before, and that he was shy to play because my brother was sitting there and having dinner, which was I was like, oh, that's crazy. That's a shocker. But nah, and ever since then he's been like a brother. He keeps up with me. We talk. He invited me to do this podcast. He was there on a day that I needed someone, but I didn't want someone I already knew. It's a weird feeling when you grieve. Like I have my whole family, they do anything for me, but I wanted to be alone. And then I found a total stranger that's like family.
Speaking of that, his passing happened weeks before. As you know, I was trying to get this for a friend of mine. I was kind of the figurehead for this
Wings for Lymphoma.
Yeah, cancer fundraiser, which, by the way, I was diagnosed with in 2018. And I was, Derek, of course, had been a big part of that since the beginning, the very incantation.
I was at the first one.
Yeah,
I remember.
So
good wings.
So it was like we wanted to do. I started talking. Of course, Lindy's is involved, and I was talking to the coordinator about it, and I said, maybe we should do like some kind of tribute, a memorial tribute, and we got some great video of you.
Yeah. Great
put together
video,
a band, like a last-minute band, and played the "Wish You Were Here," a reggae style of "Wish You Were Here."
Yep.
And
even got me up there to talk.
Yeah.
Another thing you invited to me that I showed up for.
You always show up.
So Dylan, let's kind of talk about your journey here. Because we kind of want to bring that.
So I mean, it took a lot. Like losing any sibling in any way will it always break you. But I went up to Winchester. I found a really nice lady, Courtney. And we'll put up her information as well. She's really good. She helped me with grieving. I'm in a group up there that I talk with moms and wives. I'm the only guy in there, and I'm the only sibling in there in the group. And we definitely talk with them once a month, and it's definitely a beautiful thing. And I kind of found it was when I came back from that, it was easier for me to talk and be around my family because it's just hard seeing your family cry.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So, getting other moms' perspectives of like how they feel, and I could see the pain in everyone's eyes, that it was easier to come home and face it because I was running for a year and a half. Right. It wasn't until January that I finally asked for help and got help with everything that I was dealing with.
And I think we talked about that. Yeah, you've got to be able to ask for help in order to get help.
Yeah, and if I didn't go up there, I'd probably be doing what I was doing last year, which was just drowning and hoping that it would go away.
Right. And so you went through all the different emotions.
That was
probably
still haven't gone through all of it, but I'm able to understanding. I chose drinking and partying just to numb it. Now I can have a beer or two and understand it, that on my bad days, if I'm drinking and doing that, I'm just trying to hide it. And it's just something you have to talk about. And I use Courtney all the time. I call her. She still checks in on me. So, when they say like, I'd never get a therapist or something like that, like, you never know. It could help you. It helped me. Maybe it's not for everyone, but there is someone out there that can help you. I mean, friends and family. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone that went to school for it. Just talking to someone, getting it out there is really the only way to do it. Bottling everything inside is the demon that I had to face.
Yeah. Okay. And if you find you're chasing the demon in the bottle, well, alcohol we know is a depressant in the end.
That's right.
In the end, it's a depressant.
Yeah. Well, can we bring on Paul Dearman? He is a licensed counselor that we'd like to bring on. He actually graduated from ODU in 2010, and he now lives up in New York, and he's working as a psychology professor at Fordham University, and he also works for BetterHelp.com.
BetterHelp.com. I saw a TV commercial for them today.
Yeah, BetterHelp.com. So if we could bring Paul on.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So I just wanted to ask you, when something like this happens with a family, how do you help them? What's the first thing that you do?
Yeah. Really depends on where I'm being brought into it. A lot of times it's kind of an after the thought type of thing after some time has passed. So that's not ideal. but a lot of times it's, meeting everybody where they're at individually and meeting the needs of, you know, meeting the fact that everybody kind of goes through the process differently and different people need different things.
Right. Right. Well, we were wondering if you knew his counselor up that went to ODU. She went to ODU, right?
Courtney Macaulay.
She graduated a bit before me, so I did not
That's
know.
even crazy. You know who that is?
Nice. So,
and thank you for sharing, Dylan. Like, it's really
definitely
awesome that you have come on, talked about your journey, and that's really helpful to others as well. Just kind of letting people know that they're not alone. And I'm glad that you're willing to admit, like 2 years after the fact, that you're still going through the grieving process. That's important for people to know that that's normal.
Oh yeah, that's what when I was in the group or one of the ladies, they called me outside, and they wanted me to talk to their kids, and I told them, it's something the rest of our life. People are going through stuff, and that might be anything with mental health, and not being here could be the quick solution. But what everyone that you love lives with it the rest of their life, and it is a pain like no other. And until I'm not here, I'll have that in my heart.
Yeah.
But it's crazy feeling, but actually being able to talk and knowing it helps other people is what helps me.
Yeah. So, Paul, when this happens with a family, is it helpful if the whole family comes together, or do you do individual? I mean, is that just their wishes?
Yeah. So, typically as a family altogether, it's very difficult to do that type of approach. And usually it's best if you have multiple individuals meeting the needs. Obviously, losing somebody in that way is really stressful for the family, and families have norms and patterns, and it's going to affect everyone differently. So the ideal thing would be for everybody to have their own counselor. But
cut out there.
Oh, I cut out?
Yeah, we didn't hear the last part that you said. We kind of cut out there.
So it's ideal for everybody to have their own counselor. But there's a practical issue there too, right?
Yeah.
People have different means. So often there have been many situations in which I've had to work with multiple people from the same family simultaneously. And that's more complicated. It's still important that everybody gets some individual help in that process too, though. And usually there's one or two people who are taking it harder than the others and need the most attention.
Yeah, I could see that doing it individually, because me as someone that lost my brother, I can't. It is in the group setting when the mothers, they've lost a kid. Like what my mom's going through is totally different than what I'm going through. What my grandfather, what my little brother would be going through, because, he's 18. Me and Derek were like 18, 19 months apart. I've had him my whole life, but then also, even with friends, family, all that, you never know how much love someone else had. So you don't know really how much they need.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see everyone, because who I talk to isn't who my mom would talk to, nothing like that. And I found someone in Northern Virginia, and I still keep in touch with her.
Great. I have a question for you, actually. Based off of how your are you having trouble hearing me?
No, you're good.
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. Based off of how your family reacted and kind of thinking about who took it the hardest and maybe who had an easier time, were you surprised by how hard different people took it in your family?
See, that's the hard part, because when it first happened, I isolated. I did everything I could to not be around, because I didn't want to see the hurt. When I did go through grieving counseling and doing all that, I did notice that I thought I was alone. I thought no one could hurt as much as me, but I could only imagine the things that how my mom and grandparents feel. And I took everything on my shoulders as like it was only me until I, could sit back, take the time, actually listen to other people's opinions, which I didn't want at all. Everyone wanted to help me, but I didn't want the help.
Yeah.
But when I finally got it, I was able to understand exactly that I wasn't the only one that was hurting, struggling, and that every day has been just as hard for them as it is for me daily.
Yeah.
And it took a lot. And, like I said, it wasn't until January that I made that decision. So I'd spent almost a year and a half just drowning to feel something.
That's right.
And that's a long time.
Yeah.
That is.
Yes, it is.
And what about the children?
I see them, a lot more at first because they look just like my brother. I couldn't be around them. I don't want them to see their uncle weak or crying. Or those were my thoughts at first. Now it's totally different, but I couldn't be around them because I couldn't be around family in general. It just nothing against them, loved them more than anything. All they wanted was the best for me. But I just pushed away because I wanted to be alone. But the girls, they're doing great. Isla's in 4th grade. She got up and did karaoke in front of all the people that came to her dad's event yesterday. I mean, later in life, it's all going to hit them all different. But their uncle will always be here. But that is what a sad reality of what I have to live with.
Right.
But as a family together, we're going to get through it. I have one of the strongest families, and they've helped me through all of this as well.
And that's the unity and togetherness that you guys are moving forward.
Because there's a lot of people that do this alone, and they should reach out because this is not something you can do alone.
Absolutely not.
And the key is to keep talking about the person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's nice that, my brother's presence and, how much he would do for the city and how much he loved the city. They're showing that. They've been showing that love this whole time. People tell stories all the time, always posting videos, always keeping up. Some of them might hit up my mom more than they hit up me. But, I'm glad it's just the love that he poured into everyone that they're willing to pour back into us.
Right. So, Paul, we keep going out in our feed, but I'm sure he's still on there. So, Paul, can you address a little bit, in the process, like you were sharing with me earlier, that some people think to look for certain things or depression. Could you kind of go over a little bit of that, like you had shared with me earlier?
Yeah. So a lot of people believe that every suicide is a result of depression.
Yes, you're
okay.
You're on your own.
Didn't expect that. So a lot of people have a conception that every last person who makes a suicide attempt or dies by suicide was depressed at the time where that happened. And that's not necessarily the case. There's also a conception that people have that it tends to happen at the lowest points in people's mood. And that also tends to not be true. People are actually more likely to make a suicide attempt after they've started to feel a little bit better. So that's something that we can be aware of. If we do have someone or know someone who is depressed and they're starting to feel a little bit better, they seem like they're acting, that they have a better, they're in a better place, asking them directly how they're doing and asking them about suicidal thoughts. You can't put the idea in somebody's head of suicide. You can talk with people, and if you feel safe to talk with someone about it, that makes them feel much safer to talk with people about it, and that's way more helpful than just thinking about it.
Okay.
Noticing moments of darkness, especially as a musician. Me and Dylan were just talking about this, the pressures. And Danielle said this is the pressures that come with it. And, everyone's, oh, you got the life. Well, no, there's also a pressure. If you're the sole winner bread income of this, and you've got to provide, you've got to be a provider, and you're constantly, how many shows did Derek do the month of August? It was like,
he probably only had like 1 day off.
I don't even think he had 1 day off. I know some of them he did doubles.
Yep. 2-3 times a day,
Yeah. A lot of pressure there. And like I said, he was probably had some darkness he was fighting for a while that maybe we didn't know about. There were no signs of it.
And they say you see it like people are smiling, having a great day, and you really don't know what they're going through. I've been in the happiest times of my life in public, but been in the darkest places, and no one would ever know because it's something we hide.
That's right. It's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah.
But
you just never know. Just be nice to everyone because you really don't know what they're going through. A
lot of artists out there. We were talking earlier. Me and Sandy were talking about Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell, Danny Gatton, great guitar player, even celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain. People that you think they're at the top of their game, and all of a sudden they've taken their own life, and you're sitting back on the sidelines and you're like, well, how could this be? How could this happen? That logically doesn't make any sense. There's I think finding the appropriate places and talking to the appropriate people, the therapist, and getting these problems out there, play a huge part in that. And I could say thank you to Sandy, by the way. I refer to her as Dr. Sand Sarchi a lot, because of her little indirect therapy with me and some of my issues that I've had. And thank you for that. Yeah, thanks for being a listening ear through some of my stuff. And this also, it helps. This show actually helps vent a lot for me as well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I do spiritual wellness coaching, and so
nice.
So I do have clients, and I don't exactly deal with this because I'm going to point you to the resources of the licensed counselor,
right,
and a psychiatrist, and the people that you need to. But if I see that in any of my clients, I will shoot them off to there. Mine comes from a faith-based, and so do you want to address any of that faith-based?
Yeah, I'm not religious.
Yeah, well, faith. Yeah, just faith.
Or faith in anything for that matter. How about you? The back to the whole. I guess the pressures of being a musician. I was speaking to Michelle Barlow last night on break, and she goes, she's in the duo Borderline Crazy. She goes, we're under the microscope, not just a little, all the time. Mm-hmm. Not only a microscope from people watching us play, then there's the people watching us play who are posting videos of us. And then that's going out to other people, or Facebook page, or the judgment that comes along with this, that, and the other. Right?
And you want to be perfect at all.
Right, exactly. We want to come off that way, but reality, we're not. We're human.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So
I think that's a challenge that people in general now have with social media, period. Okay. Yeah. I think social media adds to this. And so, like with kids, you really have to be really careful and filter what they're doing out there.
Right.
And kind of monitoring that. Even sometimes we need monitoring, right?
Adults, no question. But
adults too.
There's an inherent pressure, I think, that comes with trying to survive in the music business. And I remember seeing a post Derek made one time. He goes, "This is a picture of me out here begging for work," and he posted a picture of Tyrone Biggums from the Chappelle Show. And he was like, and I'm like, you would think a guy like Derek wouldn't have to beg for work at all.
Yeah. And COVID was really hard. That's when he turned into the one-man band and had to, fend for himself because he couldn't get a 7-piece band booked because you couldn't have big crowds. So he had to manipulate the trade,
adapt and overcome.
Yeah, just to be able to make money.
Yeah, keep providing.
Did he ever do any live shows like online or anything?
Yeah, he did some live right out of our grandparents' house. I'm the one that was probably holding the camera.
Speaking of live shows, there's a couple great ones out there also for not just the Wings of Lymphoma. One of his last shows, I think Rome from Audio Light Musical posted it, was of live at the Portsmouth Amphitheater.
Yeah, he has a bunch of live solo performances when Portsmouth Pavilion
right,
did live shows to help local artists to get out to do something. So. And that's
on social media as well as YouTube as well.
YouTube, Portsmouth Pavilion, Derek Moore, you'll find them. There's a bunch of them. Some of the unreleased music is up there.
Correct. Even one called Sensei.
Yeah, Sensei. Yeah,
about the air freshener company.
Yep.
So where did you go away for your grief counseling?
Yes, I was up in Winchester for 5
Okay.
months.
And for
It helped. I came back with the better sense of how to handle what I was going through, and the sense of when I was up there trying to help other people that I knew needed it, that weren't open to it, but I at least talked to them about it. All I can do is point them in the way, kind of like you do, point them in the right direction. A few people did, few people didn't. Few people are still here, some aren't. So I try not to take that personal. Can't save everyone, but as long as I tried, I can sleep better at night.
Speaking
Right.
of pointing in the right direction, let's give a shout out to Quindell Jenkins, Pitt County Barbecue.
Oh yeah, definitely. He
Q,
yeah, Q,
well-known musician, good friend of Derek's as well. By the way,
Yeah.
like I said, there's so many friends
beautiful
out
sax
there,
player.
people that knew Derek much better than myself. Quindell being one of them, and great sax player. By the way, I've never had your barbecue, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, great pit master. Got Pitt County. We did right when I got back in town. It was
You got a gig working for him?
yeah. He asked me to come help him, and now I'm one of the pit masters. I cook for him. I love it. He tragically lost someone he loved as well. Sarah, we love you. She was always
Sarah.
out there supporting Derek, supporting them, supporting what Derek stood for and what Q stands for. When everything with the world was crazy,
Yep.
she's loved, missed, and Q asked me, and now we work together and kind of try to rub off some of what I've learned about, because it's not just crying, but there's a lot of anger behind grief as well, and you kind of got to mold it, because I hate coming off like a dick sometimes, but sometimes I'm just hurting, and that's just how it is.
I'll say this: sometimes, effects of having issues, mental issues, can be aggression,
Yeah.
can be violence,
Yeah.
and violent outbursts, temperamental outbursts.
He's trying to call me crazy.
No. I'm speaking for people I might know personally.
but that's so good that you're
How about myself?
communicating, and see that's the key,
Yeah.
is the communication part, is saying, hey, I'm acting this way because I'm feeling this way today.
I have to
Instead of
tell people sorry all the time, because I'm really good at cutting, just not talking to people for days. Even loved ones are like, if you don't see me, we probably not talking, and that's just isolation that I grew to know from what I wanted after I lost my brother. We're tight. I mean, close as like that, a bond I'll never have again.
Remember Bruce Springsteen saying one time, who, by the way, is also diagnosed bipolar. Or I believe he came forward in that recently. He said isolation can kill a man.
Yeah.
So
I've been working on it.
Yeah, no man is an island. That's what
Yeah.
the song says. So, but when you're in that, go ahead.
I mentioned a book to you before, for the creative. It's called the Van Gogh Blues, and people that have this creative thing do have this book is very helpful. So if you want to look it up, if you're a musician, a creative person, you feel like you have the highs and lows,
right?
This book is very helpful. It helped some musicians I know. So
the Van Gogh Blues.
The Van Gogh Blues. And I know if with Paul, if he wants to share anything, any books that he could recommend.
Or let's talk about the website was the ask. What's it?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, just.
Yes. So, in terms of bibliotherapy, that would be the official term for it. I actually don't have any particular recommendations, because I think most people who have recently lost someone to suicide probably need more individual connection with others, even if they, as was said earlier, feel like they want to be alone but don't want to be alone, and keep putting themselves in positions where others can interact with them. But there definitely is an overlap between the arts of any sort and mental health challenges. We don't know what causes what, but we do know that a lot of artistic endeavors have really good therapeutic benefits, and there's entire specialists in the mental health community that all they do is art-based therapy, whether that's music therapy, dance therapy, art therapy. Specifically for kids, it's like kind of the only way that they can do anything as far as recovering from grief and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely, I think for a lot of individuals, the arts has a draw to them because it is therapeutic and that's what's feeling good about it to begin with. But if that is what's driving someone into the arts, you have to ask yourself a question if they might need something else in addition to just doing music.
Right. Yeah. I remember reading Les Paul said his guitar was his therapist. And I've always kind of felt that way until you do guitar 24/7, 8 days a week for so many years. And then where does it run out right from there?
Right.
No, it always is. There's a connection there. There's no question that there is a connection there. However, there's other healthy therapies. I mean, let's stop some of the bad therapies. We know musicians have Achilles heel with different vices. Can we say drugs and alcohol? Abusing drugs and alcohol. I hate to say it. That's kind of synonymous with musicians.
Self-medicating.
Yeah, we self-medicate on our days off or at the shows or wherever.
No musician, but I've done it.
Yeah, well, and guess what? That's something you really have to be careful of. I mean, it's like I said, vice-wise, it's not as healthy as going to the gym or something else that could be some kind of physical outlet for you versus something that's going to pull you down and take you in a darker place.
Well, I like what Paul said. He said getting therapy, a book is not going to solve it.
Right.
Exercise is it. You need to do a little bit of talk therapy, right, Paul?
Yeah.
A couple different
with the older.
Yeah. If I when I was away, like Courtney reached out, really didn't want to talk the first time, said, "Let me get 10 minutes of your time." End up talking to her for an hour and a half. She really opened, and I had just 3 initial sessions with her before I went to her private practice. But every time I opened more and more up, there was just something I found my connection with her, and she's great at what she does, and she helps a lot of people. And if you find that connection with someone, that's probably who you should talk to. And if you're not really having that the first time, check. There's thousands of therapists out there,
Yeah.
So, don't give up if the first one didn't work out. I got lucky and found the first person.
Wow.
And really changed life.
That's super. Yeah.
That's such a
Right.
great.
And Paul, where was it that you were?
BetterHelp.com. And what's really nice about BetterHelp is that you can very easily change counselors, and it's very encouraged on the platform. So yeah, absolutely. I think, Dylan, what you said is very important to be aware of the fact that the first time you talk to someone, it's not just about the person and how you get along with them, but also the approach too. And both of those things need to be right. So trying therapy once doesn't mean that it's not for you. It might take several different attempts before you find the right match.
Yeah, our minds can say if it's not the thing for you, and all of a sudden you've got this neuroassociation that says, "Oh, therapy is bad." And then you're stuck with that. You're right. It's get back on the horse.
It's kind of like food. Like there's 1,000 people that can cook the same recipe, and some of them aren't going to be as good.
The one that you prefer. Yeah.
I like that.
All right, well put.
Yeah, I can cook.
Pit Master Dylan. Pitt County Barbecue.
Yeah, definitely. And also to shout out all my brothers at Buddha Council. Yeah, forgot you earlier, but I didn't forget y'all. Rhett, you're probably listening in from Hawaii. Thank you. You were texting me right before this. John True, John Kwan, Uncle T, love you, man. Definitely, he was was the last one to play my brother's guitar at the benefit concert they did for him. Still keeps up with me, asking how I'm doing. All the guys, they all reach out. Everyone Derek played with, they still show me love to this day.
Right.
And the family. It's just so he touched their hearts like he did the whole city, which was a beautiful thing.
Right on. I think that's if there's a beauty to the legacy, that's it. And the friends that are brought together through music and the camaraderie that's still there.
When he started playing places, there's people that didn't even know they lived in Virginia Beach, didn't know nothing about him. Now we're best friends. They always check on me, everything. He brought strangers into our family, and they're forever here.
I used to remember going and watching Derek. Speaking of that, strangers, he'd set up on a patio
Yep.
And 5
People
minutes.
that walk by.
5 minutes after you, the next thing you know, it's standing room only. You know, Ocean's 14, for example, that'd be a perfect example. Nish Patel's place.
Yep.
He would shut up out there, and it'd be like, it's gonna be a quiet night, and he goes into his thing, and it's got this sound that's just pulling people,
everyone in.
Yeah.
We went on tour one time, and I told him, I was like, something about when you play your guitar solos, and this is when I was on tour with them with Strange Roots, and we're probably up somewhere by DC. But I was like, bro, I'm telling you, like when you play, like people just close their eyes and like get lost in it. And a girl walked up after the show and said that exact thing, and he never believed me until he heard it from someone else. I was like, bro, I'm going to all these shows hearing you night after night. You know, set up at the merch table, you know, help them, you know, they call me Road Dogg, go on tour with them, help them with anything they needed. But like, you could get lost in one of his solos.
Because the girl said it. See?
Oh, yeah.
The girl said it.
Because if I say it,
it doesn't mean it. Yeah. That's the way that goes.
But it was nice. And then on that tour, even in Florida and stuff like that, people would walk up and say that you can just get lost in it. And, you know, I'm glad that I have all of the recordings and everything, all the memories. You know, that tour that I went on, we drove 13 hours back on Christmas Eve just to wake up 4 hours for Isla's Christmas.
You know, I was just talking to Paul about this earlier about musical influence and stuff, and he mentioned how, like, you know, we're talking about maybe 7 years. A guy who was a self-taught guitar player, and some of his influences, he like
definitely
Wayne Shepherd,
and,
you know, this, that, and the other. And he said at the very beginning, he was kind of militant about what he wanted to play, like, you know, reggae-wise.
Yeah.
You know, but he slowly started opening up and realized he had to be more variety.
Yeah.
And he kind of, you know, crossing over as to, you know, what you can play if you want to be the one-man guy.
Yeah.
But his root, I mean, he went deep into the roots reggae.
Yeah.
And that was where his heart was, you know, with the Strange Roots, of course.
Yeah, of course.
You know, those guys, man, like I said, that Live at the Canal Club, Richmond. There's a lot of other great shows, but for some reason, that one in particular. I just remember watching it one day and just being mesmerized by it. So, you know. I was
thank you everyone that commented, you know, my aunt, thank you, Cherie, love you, y'all have a good one.
I
had to do it for the whole family.
Like I said, the family is here with us as well. We got friends and family. Most of all, your beautiful mother, what she has had to endure and what she's had to go through. And I'm sure she probably sees a therapist as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she does.
And, you know, I thank her for her friendship and her generosity and kindness. And, you know, to me personally, and also Wings and then being part of this. I mean, you know.
Yeah, oh, definitely. No, we thank you. Like, you know, actually, I want to thank everyone that's been close, you know, because it's not even just about me. My family goes through a lot. And y'all still check up on them all the time. Every time you see them, say, hey, y'all. And that goes to everyone, you know. Y'all probably see me more, but y'all still show my family love. And that's what it's about. I'll be okay. I just need to make sure they're okay.
All right.
Didn't you want to show a video?
Oh, do we have it?
Yeah, we have that one.
There we go.
So,
you want to
talk about it?
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Oh, go ahead. This is
the
Catch a Vibe, which also has Jenkins, Quindell playing on it.
Yep.
Here.
Hold a Vibe. You know, Quindell, thank you. This is one of my brother's favorite ones. He had a bunch of songs, but yeah, Hold a Vibe, and this is the video over the paddle out.
This is the tribute paddle out for Derek that happened at the Jetty.
Yep,
First Street, and there was a rainbow, by the way, from end to end over Virginia Beach when this happened.
He was watching,
and and of course Jules who was the DJ who edited the drone video to this. I think it was.
You probably know more than I do.
I think it was Jules. Anyway, shout out to him.
kick it with you. Well, I hope you come my way. My way, Lord. So baby girl, don't you know you rock my world? You're gonna be my girl. I need to know. Can we hold on? Just you and I. When I feel so blue, all I want is you. And baby, you're the reason that my heart is full. I love the vibe that you bring to me. Oh, I wanna hear it night. Come and see.
Wow. It was an amazing video.
Yeah, that was. The
What
drone
do
footage
you
was
guys
crazy.
think, audience?
There's some beautiful production.
Yeah,
right
nah.
there. Yeah.
So we're going to do some closing
Statements, I
comments
guess.
and
Yeah.
statements. And I'd like to pull Paul back on here for a minute
Yeah.
and ask him, is there anything you can share any further on this subject that you would suggest? And where could people find you if they wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, so as many of you know, Logic put out a song several years ago trying to promote the suicide hotline. And it was just a lot to try to memorize. But because of federal funding and things like that, people can now get help with a simple 3-digit number, just like calling 911, but you don't need to call 911. I don't know if we have that slide available, but individuals can now call 988 if they're having any sort of suicide or other mental health crisis that's going on. So it's help is a simple free phone call away. As for myself, if people want to sign up for betterhelp.com, I'm available to be requested on betterhelp.com. And if for whatever reason I can't accept you as a client, there are thousands of other professionals who'd be more than happy to work with you, help you. If you have children who are struggling with mental health concerns, there's help available through betterhelp.com, but also, there's been requirements for mental health parity. So if you have insurance, you have mental health insurance in the United States now. And so there are a lot of more than just traditional in the office, lay down on a couch and talk types of therapies. There's community-based interventions where people might come out to your homes. There's, of course, inpatient things for people who maybe go on too long and let things get bad for themselves. And people are often really hesitant to do inpatient because they're really afraid of what that's going to look like. But those types of services also open up doors to other services that you normally couldn't get access to. And so I do encourage individuals, if you know, if it's not for you, they're not going to let you in. And if you check yourself in, you can check yourself out whenever you'd like. As far as anyone, if you know someone who is suicidal or having thoughts of suicide, there are free trainings, especially like mental health first aid is available. It's about an 8-hour course, helps individuals identify different types of mental health conditions, including depression, suicidality, substance use concerns, and anxiety, and being able to distinguish those things. And then any person after that training can intervene with any other person as like a non-professional. That's why it's called mental health first aid. But yeah, just being there for one another, talking, caring, asking, and respecting one another too. You know, I think, Dylan, what you shared about how your family was interacting, like sometimes it is actually important for someone to distance themselves from their family in that process initially, and it's important then that everybody else comes in and surrounds that individual. So I hope you don't have regret over what happened, like that needed to happen the way that it did. And maybe it went on for longer than it needed to, but you got help, and you're still with us, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it did take that. And I told Courtney about that I did feel bad how I handled it, but she said there's no right way to handle it. So me going off shouldn't have been as destructive if I was, but going off, distancing, but then coming back, I came back better than I left, which is what I needed to do.
And Paul, thank you so much for coming on our show
Yes, thank you,
tonight.
Paul. Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Very nice.
Any closing
I think it's important to recognize the signs of it. I come from a huge line of it. Personally, I didn't find out until about 2 years ago that my grandfather committed suicide at 83 years old. Found that out as a family secret from my father. He was manic depressive, and there were a lot of signs that my father told me about that all came to me and just was like, oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. My mother has been diagnosed with issues. My brother, bipolar schizophrenic. I also had an aunt that committed suicide, and yeah, it's something that affects everybody. And mental health is huge across the board, and it's very important to recognize these things in somebody, and even more so important to the person to listen and take advice. You know, turning a blind eye to it. You know, sometimes your friends are your best therapist in the beginning to get you to a therapist, I think.
That's right.
So, Sandy.
All right. That's you covered it.
Did
really.
I?
You covered
Yeah,
it.
all right.
And thank you, Dylan.
What do I know?
Yeah, of course. And
I'm
if,
just a guitar player.
most people know me, but if you don't, I'd rather be your friend than go to your funeral. So reach out, even if it's to me.
Yeah. That's heavy.
And you can reach out to Sandy Archer Spiritual Health if you need any coaching, or I can point you to some more resources if you need it. So
Once again,
thank you guys.
Thank you, the family. Thank you,
Thank you to the
Paul,
family. Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone that showed up today.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Remembrance.